All right. So, my name is Paul, and this is my treasure search channel, formerly known as Wonderlust. And today we're going to talk about structures. And we're going to jump right into this, hopefully. So, I have the definition here, or we have the quotes from Forrest Fenn. I just want to provide some contextual background for why we're talking about this. That in several interviews, Forrest Fenn has said, uh, quote, no need to dig up old outhouses. The treasure is not associated with a structure. Quote, closed, Forrest Fenn. I believe it was from another source. Forrest Fenn is questioned by someone named D. Mr. Fenn, when you said not associated with any structure, did you mean that all nine clues or just where the chest sits? And Forrest Fenn responds, yes, D, it means the treasure is not hidden in or about a structure. Alright? Not hidden in or about a structure. It's not associated with any structure. But her question was, with any structure, did you mean all nine clues or just where the chest sits? And Forrest says it means the treasure is not hidden in or about a structure. I mean, you could go two ways with this. I mean, he's either saying, look, I'm answering your question. You said, does it mean that all nine clues or just where the chest sits? Now, the interesting thing is his answer is not, uh, you know, is it or? Is it this or that? And he's saying, I mean, one way to assume it is he's saying it's both. It means the treasure is not hidden in or about a structure. All nine clues mean it's not hidden in or about a structure, and or with where the chest sits. Great. I should end the video right there. But furthermore, you know, Forrest Fenn and structure. So, what is a structure? What kind of structures are there out there? Are we talking about a singular basic definition of a structure, a building? Does it mean we are simply seeing no structures at the location, such that we are deep in a forest and see nothing but trees? Is the structure question really a larger clue, such that it is not hidden near a structure, but the blaze is the structure, and we must be wise to see? So, if you look up the definition of structure, you see that as a noun, the arrangement of a relationship between the parts or elements of something complex, right? A verb, is a construct or arrangement according to a plan, given a pattern or organization too. And this thing starts turning into like, you know, a fifth grade, you know, uh, lecture from a teacher. It's like I could just hear the students, falling asleep. But another meaning of a structure is something of many parts that's put together. A structure can be a skyscraper, an outhouse, your body, or a sentence. Structure is from the Latin word structure, which means a fitting together or building. Okay? So, structure and what Forrest Fenn said. Okay? Forrest Fenn has said, no need to dig up old outhouses. The treasure is not associated with the structure. Okay? This is the question. You said it's not associated with any structure. Did you mean all nine clues or just where the chest sits? Yes, D. It means the treasure is not hidden in or about a structure. So Forrest Fenn also prefaced that by saying, if you want more information, just Google the word structure for more information. So we went and did that, and what we came up with is that there are four types of structures, and the point was is that one of the things that came up right away when you Google structure is that the English or kind of grammar that you may have seen in fifth grade or in the college grammar or English class is that you're hit about all this information about sentence structure, simple sentences, complex sentences, compound, complex sentences, and the minutia that goes into that, related to sentence structure. And so one of the things that I'm wondering is that is when Forrest Fenn says when he's talking about structure, is he saying that when we look at that poem, he said that the poem is a map, okay, and then he's saying the the treasure is not associated with any structure. And is he saying any structure in the poem? So he's saying the poem, okay, has that the solution to the poem doesn't have anything to do with the sentence structure. And that's a very clever way. I mean, it really is a very clever way of obfuscating the question. So Forrest Fenn might be saying that the sentence structure of the poem has nothing to do with where the treasure is. So you can go look at commas and all this other stuff in there, but it has nothing to do with sentence structure of the poem. And I mean, that would be very an interesting way for him to basically avoid this next bunch of things where most people go. And where most people go is here. Is that if you Google structure for more information, you'll find out there are three basic. Whoops. You'll find out this. There are three basic types of structures: a shell structure, a frame structure, a solid structure. But some structures are a combination. Most containers used to hold liquids or small solids are shell structures. Okay, and then going back to the sentence structure thing, you find more of this stuff about sentence structure: a declarative sentence, a statement, a question, interrogative sentence, exclamation, exclamatory sentence, a command, or imperative sentence, which is very interesting that, we kind of get the thing when people say structure, you think of a building. And this is what most people think of. They think of some kind of a building. And I chose this because it was a very interesting picture and it illustrates, that clearly is a building that has some kind of structure to it, right? Here's another building. When we say the structure, here's a castle that's a structure in Disneyland, or is this Disney World? But either way, it's a castle, it's a structure, or the Taj Mahal, right? So these are structures. When we think of them, we think of some kind of a building, right? Another structure would be a bridge. And here is the Golden Gate Bridge. Here's another structure, which it kind of begs the question of, is a structure when it falls down like this and it starts to look like modern art, is this still a structure? And the answer is, loosely, yes, it still is a structure, even though it's falling apart, because we see it as some old building, and so we would define it as that. And another form of structures that you would see are bridges. A bridge is a structure. Now, the point that I was trying to make, or that I wanted to make, was that Forrest Fenn has told us categorically that the treasure is not associated with any structure, near or about. Okay, and I'm going to make a big deal about that here in a second. Is near or about any structure. So here's the premise: is that these bridges are in the middle of the forest. So, and these are structures, and he's saying it's not near or about any structure, but he doesn't necessarily say that it's not part of the clue or a clue. So, part of the clues may be that you have to find a bridge in the forest. That is part of the clue, but he's saying that it's hidden. It's not hidden near or about this structure. If that is the interpretation, then the argument that I'm making or trying to make, I'm making two or three arguments. I'm arguing on all three sides of this. Is that I'm saying that there's a possibility that if you disregard structures, like an example of this bridge in the forest, and you say there's no way because there's a structure that it could be anywhere near here, and you could be right, but this could also be the clue, and that what Forrest Fenn is saying, it's not associated with or anywhere near this bridge, but it's close, and so that could be a huge mistake you're making by ignoring structures. So here's another structure. It could be a monument, and the interesting thing is here's literally a monument, right? That's been built, and it's a structure. But the funny thing is right behind it is there is a mountain, and the mountain is essentially a structure in itself, right? A mountain is a structure, right? And so when Forrest Fenn says that it's not associated with or anywhere near or about the structure, but he he's kind of playing a possibility that he's just like I made the point about the sentence structure of the poem. I mean that he also could be playing a game with words around the structure. So I mean, you could be standing right next to where below the home of Brown, but what he's saying is that it's hidden not near or about these structures. It's further away, and that's an important distinction. This is, I think, probably one of the most. I think this is very very interesting, or really important to this whole thing, this discussion, is that you have these structures. These are geological structures, right, in nature. Now, I understand. I believe this is in Arizona, and it's not in the Chase area, but I just wanted to make the point of, and this picture illustrates this very, I think, nicely, is that if Forrest Fenn says it's put in below the home of Brown, say just play this game along with me for a second. If this is below the home of Brown, right, and you put in below the home of Brown, you're below this structure, right, and he's saying it's not far but too far to walk. Well, and that the treasure is not near or any place nearby or in proximity to the home of Brown. Well, that brings up a whole bunch of questions in my mind, which is what is not far but too far to walk, and what is not nearby. I mean, to me, certainly, if this distance out here where this horse is relative to this structure is not nearby, you know, I think nearby would be right near the bottom of it or around it, but certainly not where this horse is. But could nearby be not nearby? It could literally be on the horizon. I don't know. So, oh, and so here's another example of a structure. Where he's saying, just like you see the picture of the horse, this would be, it's not associated or nearby this structure, but it doesn't necessarily say that it couldn't be 5 miles away. So I mean, you hike 5 miles out away from this thing, you turn around and you can still see it, right, because it's 5 miles off in the distance. So I mean, you had to walk far but not too far, and when you turn around you're wise enough to still see the blaze. Another thing that I wanted to make a point about is that, which I think is kind of tongue in cheek, and I'm sort of being a little bit of a rascal about this, is that the entire Rocky Mountains is a structure. It really is. And so when he's saying it's not far, it's not associated with any structure, it's kind of messed up because the entire Rocky Mountains is a structure. And I don't think he meant it. I think that's why I made the point about that he's talking about the Latin term structure in the way that you would associate it with a kind of classical education, which I think Forrest Fenn had. Another one too is that the internet has a structure. This is actually, it's pretty amazing. This, they actually took all the nodes of the actual known internet on the entire planet Earth, and they were able to put it into a diagram, and you can actually see the internet is a structure. It has a structure to it. I just thought it was interesting. Um, and another one, this was along the same lines about, it shows the geological structure of all these different um, you know aspects of the Rocky Mountains, and he's saying it's not near any structure. And I think what you could do is, you could, the thing is that it sort of rules out in a way all the aspects of these kind of structures where you can actually spend a lot of time on trying trying to base what he's saying on. And I think that's one of the things where Forrest Fenn talks about, is that you need to get back in the box, or people are too far ahead of themselves. Is that, or they're trying to make it far too complicated than it needs to be. And I'm specifically talking about structures. In the Rocky Mountains, if you do look at geological aspects, I mean, there are structures. The entire Rocky Mountains is a structure, and then there's all these substructures in between. So, all right, so I'm going to cut this short, and then I'm going to come back with part two and finish up my thoughts because I have a bunch of other ideas and on the whole idea of structures. So this is part one. It's going to come to an end, and then we're going to have part two, and then please like my videos and subscribe. So we'll be back on part two.